Hello and welcome back to Core Finance. In association with the NEX Exchange, I'm Matt Brown. I'm joined today by Chris Cleverly, who is Executive Chairman of African Potash. And thank you very much for joining us on the show here today.
Very good to see you as well, Matt.
So for our viewers who are new to African Potash, can you give us just a brief history, brief backstory of who you are, and then move on to where you operate and hopefully how you make your revenue?
Very good. So giving you a potted history of potash, we've been around for a number of years now. Primarily we're an exploration company with a very good concession in the Republic of Congo. We moved on in the last 2 years to beginning a much more of a vertical way of looking at it. We were hunting for revenue. Potash figures were down from about $700 down to about $200 in terms of market price. And so we looked at a way of expanding our story. To that end, we signed up an agreement with COMESA in 2015, and the agreement was COMESA being the trade body, the trade bloc for 21 countries across the whole of Africa. And we signed up an agreement with them in the hope and the expectation that they would be able to assist us in bringing cheaper fertiliser at a cost basis and bring revenue to the company across the region. And we signed a number of agreements to enable us to do that. Unfortunately, those agreements did not actually come to pass because of a number of unfortunate scenarios, one of which was that there was El Nino, which was the massive global climate change, which meant that a lot of fertiliser companies went out of business over that period of time. Another was the Zambian election and other things that meant that the Zambian government, which was one of our big potential clients via various people, wasn't able actually to actually pay for any fertiliser. They spent all their money elsewhere, and so that created a ruction, and you know, so that led us to have a lot of navel gazing over the last year or so, really to contemplate where it is that we went wrong, and how we can actually improve it going forward into the future. We came off the AIM exchange and onto NEX, and here on NEX, obviously that's why I'm talking to you. We actually realised that there was a very good home here for businesses that were growing, that were looking to use the blockchain. The blockchain seemed to us to be a great way of answering a lot of our issues. Our main issues being, you know, as a public company, what we can and cannot do in Africa, security, which was very, very important. The whole smart contract system allows us that security between different people, and also utilisation of what existed already in Africa and for the African farmer, which is who we were selling our fertiliser to, which already had a number of digital payment systems in place. So it really was exploration of those things and then using blockchain to actually replace those with tokenisation that allowed us to decentralise our issues, which were governmental. You know, one thing you'll notice, Matt, is that in the fertiliser trade after a short period of time is that your contracts tend to be between oligarchical Russians and autocratic Africans. And being between the two of those is not necessarily the best place to be when what you want to do is sell to smallholder farmers. So rather than being at that level, we're now at the level of dealing with the smallholder farmer directly, and we're building up the system to do that.
So it sounds like a very transitional and transformational year for African Potash. So what does that mean with regards to your energies and focus? You obviously, you were a potash company. Are you more, or you're going to be more in the blockchain in-between space? How are you evolving as a company, and what does that ultimately mean for shareholders? Yeah,
I think that's a very good question. I think that we maintain the same strategy, and all that's really happened with blockchain is it's allowed us to get to where we needed to go quicker. We had a problem which was looking for a solution. Unfortunately, technology caught up with our ambition and found a solution in blockchain for us. So we continue to be a vertical and to aspire to be a vertical. We see that tokenization, tokens, you know, people call them cryptocurrencies, but obviously I think that that's appropriate here. We'll be a tokenized business. Tokens backed by assets. So we have access to assets, and our recent MOU has sort of intimated towards that, not only in terms of our own asset in in the Congo, Republic of Congo, which is Ladinga, which an announcement was made this year as well, where we're now partying with AAX, which is run by a very, very experienced mining team to develop that project and actually take the cost of that developing that project off our balance sheet, which is a big step forward for the shareholder. But what it's going to allow us to do is have an asset. There are other assets in Congo which are also appropriate to fertiliser, and I've spoken about this before, and it's always been a long-term part of our strategy, is that there's natural gas offshore, there's phosphate in country, there's world-class potash in country. All those three constituents, or N, P and K, are necessary to make fertiliser, and the only country in the world that has all three of them in abundance next to a world-class port like Pointe Noire is the Republic of Congo. We've now signed an agreement with the protocol with the Minister of Agriculture there to build out that scenario, let's say. Those will provide assets, they'll provide infrastructure to get those assets out, we hope. And in any event, they can then sit behind any tokenisation, giving that tokenisation some security and allowing those tokens then to be lent, which is our policy, to the farmers so that they can buy our fertiliser, getting us two bits of profit off the loaning, and also another bit of profit when we sell the fertiliser as well. To that end, we've gone into seeing where the vertical goes. And the vertical obviously produces produce, and it produces grain, it'll produce coffee, it'll produce tea, it'll produce sugar. Those things will need to be sold on so that the farmer can actually pay back the loan that he has. So we've now had an agreement with GMEX, and it's been particularly its subsidiary Fincom Mico. Fincom Mico is the proprietor, let's say, or certainly a big shareholder in a very large commodity exchange in Malawi, the biggest one there, and has already done a test on 47,000 farmers using its warehouse receipt system. And so our relationship there allows us to then follow all the way from the mine through to the microloaning to the farmer, from the farmer to the produce, from the produce to the commodity exchange, and then hopefully selling out. So there's it's a long chain there, but it's one that's rewarded by blockchain. And blockchain allows us to be able to not only fix our supplies, whether we get them from our own mine sometime in the future or immediately get them from fertiliser suppliers, sell the produce to the farmer. The farmer will have our token. Therefore, there's a secure system, so this money doesn't go anywhere else. You don't like you're lending him money and it goes elsewhere. We've already spoken about e-vouchers in the past, and e-vouchers will, we believe, as a digitised payment system, be replaced by these digital currencies, which are tokens. Allows the government to no longer need to participate, allows private industry to participate in the loans. We know how successful microloans are in emerging markets. If they're done properly, then they only have default rates of about 10%. So in this kind of a system, we're hoping that tokenisation will allow the purchase of our fertiliser. They'll grow our great product, they'll take their great product, they'll take them to our partnership with Fincom Mico. Fincom Mico will purchase them with their warehouse receipt systems, another digital payment system to be replaced by tokenisation, and then onward it will sell through futures contracts, all through the blockchain and through to the end of it. So we're at the beginning of that journey. We were at the beginning of that journey a couple of years ago. Some mistakes were made, some misdirections taken, and some very unfortunate acts of God occurred, like El Nino. But that often happens when you're a startup. 9 out of 10 startups disappear. We haven't. We've borne through the wind and the rain and the storms of the stock exchange, and we've come out the other side, having learned how to dance in public, as it were, and we're here now.
And good, obviously, to have you on the show
Thank
as
you.
well here.
Thank you, Matt.
Braving the British weather.
Yeah.
Now, final question, obviously, with regards to the chain, and you're looking at the vertical, and you're at various stages of that. And if you're at various stages, one would like to think you're making profits, as you say. At what stage do you think African Potash, or if you go through a rebrand, rename, will be actually turning a profit? I mean, how many years down the line do you think that will be?
Well, I think, one, we have already announced that we will be changing our name to Block Commodities. It's a much more appropriate name for companies such as ours, which We'll be engaging in other commodities other than fertiliser. We'll be in other commodities other than potash in the particular. And obviously moving towards soft commodities, already trading in fertiliser. What we intend to do is to do what we're good at. What we're good at is the strategic side of it. And we intend to partner with great people like GMEX, great people like AAX, who are excellent at what they do. AAX has got a fantastic mining group led by Andrew Cranswick. It's got good history both on the more senior exchanges to us, but also elsewhere globally. We've got great people coming in GMEX. GMEX actually built this exchange that we're talking about, NEX Exchange. The team there was fundamental in that development. So they know what they're doing. They've got a Malawi exchange that knows what it's doing. And we're going to be working with fertiliser companies which we believe will become great traders rather than trading ourselves. And we're going to work with farmers. Well, they know what they're doing because they've been living on the land and they've been living off it for a very long time. So by putting these parties together, ensuring there's a secure system with the blockchain, making sure that the people have the right investment at the right time to enable them to actually fulfill their ambitions, but also the ambitions of our shareholders. That's the way forward for us. It's very easy to get yourself pulled into an operational role that perhaps we weren't best suited to. And also one in which where our risks are greater because then it's all reliant upon us to make it a success, and having a much broader base of opportunities with a broader base of likelihoods of success.
Well, on that note, Chris Cleverly, Executive Chairman of African Potash, soon to be renamed Block Commodities Limited. Thank you very much for joining us here on Core Finance in association with NEX Exchange.
Thank you very much, Matt.